ഞാൻ ആദ്യം സൂചിപ്പിച്ചു പല ആൾക്കാർ അവരുടെ ജീവൻ തന്നെ ബലി കൊടുത്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. എന്നാൽ ജീവിച്ചിരിക്കുന്ന ഓരോ നിമിഷവും ബലി കൊടുക്കുന്ന പല വ്യക്തികളും നമുക്ക്. Let me introduce one person whose all wakeful moments are sacrificed for freedom for Tibet. If you look inside that small paper bag, there will be a book, black book, Quora. Yeah. Those are the poems and essays written by one person, one very unique person. To declare or to demand freedom for Tibet, he climbed 14 stories of elaborate towers in Mumbai when the Chinese premier was visiting Mumbai. And that person is here in present. Let me invite Mr. Tenzin Tsundue to speak about freedom and what he means by freedom for Tibet. Mr. Tenzin Tsundue. Mr. Tenzin Tsundue, I invite you to speak about freedom and what it means freedom to you. Please welcome Mr. Tenzin Tsundue.
எல்லாருக்கும் வணக்கம். கொஞ்சம் தமிழ் பேசுங்க. எப்படி மദ്രാസിൽ 3 വർഷം പഠിച്ചത്, അതും தமிழ் பேசுறீங்க. മലയാളം slowly learn. I am a Tibetan, born and brought up in India. And now here we be in the presence of what Tibetans call the holy presence. We are going to be in present of a man who the Tibetans believe that he is the living Buddha. And I'd like to familiarize all of you with the political situation in which His Holiness is today living, and create the situation where all of us can understand what He is going to say to us. Even as I speak now, in Tibet, the country His Holiness the Dalai Lama left behind 53 years back. And he continues to be a political refugee in India. In Tibet today, there is a serious crisis going on. Until today, 79 Tibetans have set themselves on fire, protesting the Chinese occupation of Tibet and demanding return of His Holiness the Dalai Lama to Tibet and freedom for Tibet. It may be shocking to many of you. Some of you may not have heard about this, and you are here in the presence of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. It is very essential to understand for all of us where His Holiness the Dalai Lama is coming from and where he is today. In the year 2008, when the Beijing Olympics was going on, I, as an activist, we have been campaigning around the world that China is not the country it is presenting to be. All the China's money and economic power is not the real China. The real China is the Chinese people, the millions and millions of Chinese people who are suffering under their own dictatorship run by China. That year, in 2008 Beijing Olympics, when the Tibetans in Tibet rose up in protest, when hundreds of Tibetans were killed, thousands of Tibetans have been arrested and taken away, when the world watched this horror in disbelief. People around the world, they asked their governments to boycott Beijing 2008 Olympics. We, as an activist and Tibetan in Tibet and around the world, we thought the world for the first time heard us, for the first time saw how brutal the Chinese regime can be. President at the time, French President Sarkozy, Angela Merkel, at the time American President George Bush, and number of international leaders said, if China does not stop this military crackdown in Tibet, they said they were not going to attend the Olympics opening ceremony. There was going to be a serious crisis in China. One opportunity for China as a country and Chinese, the people of rich history and culture, a great country, was at the time they were in a crisis where the only Olympic moment of their history was letting go, was being bereft of their hands. There was a time where the Olympic movement would be completely a no-show. His Holiness the Dalai Lama came in front of the world in national media and said, China deserves to be hosting the Olympics. We as activists, we were angry, we want China to learn the lesson. His Holiness the Dalai Lama saved China that time. It became a relief for international leaders to continue to go to China and be there as the biggest spectacle of the world history. The rest is history. That's His Holiness the Dalai Lama. A human being who, for us, is a human being, but he is a Buddha. For whom it does not matter whether you are Tibetan or Indian or Chinese or whatever. His Holiness the Dalai Lama continues to lead us in this struggle and says, the more brutal and torturous your enemy is not your enemy is your teacher. Without that kind of enemy, how will you learn patience? How will you learn tolerance? And power of tolerance and patience comes from deep understanding of love. His Holiness the Dalai Lama says, if your enemy, if your adversary, whether your enemy or your adversary is your wife or daughter who is demanding the latest cell phone, or your son who wants the latest motorbike, or your next door neighbor who keeps throwing dirt into your garden. Most of our enemies are people who live close to us, not the ones who are living far in the distance. His Holiness says, have the love. Instead of getting irritated and annoyed, understand that person too is a human being who wants peace and happiness and doesn't want to suffer. Equal capacity to kind of, at the same time, equal capacity of love and compassion. This is where His Holiness is. He is today leader, not just for the Tibetans, but people around the world. Again, I as a Tibetan activist working in the Tibetan freedom struggle, I continue to miss His Holiness. I would wish him to be Tibetan leader, just the way Aung San Suu Kyi is the leader for Burma. She's championing the Burmese leader, the Burmese struggle for democracy and freedom. I would want him to be working more for us, but he is one who thinks for universal responsibility. There is a difference. His Holiness the Dalai Lama speaks for an autonomous arrangement with China, holding no grievances to the Chinese people and China as a country. And we are saying we want independence of Tibet. Only independence of Tibet can guarantee the true survival of the Tibetan nation and the Tibetan people. His Holiness all the time guiding us and says, if everybody demands his own rights like this staunchly, there will be conflicts all around the world. His Holiness says that this is a new world, a time of peace and understanding, a time where we have to understand other people's pain and suffering. And that will come only if you have love and compassion. This is the leader, he's leading us. His Holiness the Dalai Lama came to Tibet in 1959 after the Chinese invasion of Tibet. His Holiness the Dalai Lama, even while being in Tibet for 10 years, he tried to live with the Chinese occupation. When China invaded Tibet in 1949, His Holiness the Dalai Lama wrote to the President of the United States. He wrote for help to India, to United Kingdom, to United Nations and the United States. All of them did not come in support of Tibet. His Holiness the Dalai Lama at the age of 14, when he was made the leader of the Tibetan struggle, at this point when there was a military invasion of Tibet, was left helpless. Nobody came to support him. So His Holiness the Dalai Lama tried to talk to the Chinese and find a negotiated solution to live together. This went on for 10 years. And when it came to a situation where it was not possible for him to continue to live, but there was a direct confrontation between the Tibetan people and the Chinese military, there was imminently going to be a clash. His Holiness the Dalai Lama, to bring down the clash, to de-escalate the tension, His Holiness the Dalai Lama sought asylum in India. Because if he continued to live, the Tibetans were out there to protect him, his life, and were willing to die. And the Chinese were willing to come out and brutally clamp down. That's the reason why His Holiness the Dalai Lama sought asylum in India. Since then, we have been living in India. It's been 53 years. It's been 53 years since we've been living here. We are 1 lakh Tibetans living in India, about 15,000 in Nepal, about 5,000 in Bhutan, and the rest about 20,000 in the rest of the world. Almost about 1,50,000 Tibetans live in India. In Tibet, the Tibetan population is 6 million. Then I will conclude by saying that we wish to live with China. We wish to live with Chinese, but only as neighbors, mutually respecting. Our common vision for future Tibet is to have a democratic country. And we have learned so much from India. And we want to recreate a Tibet as a free country with democracy. Having that kind of brotherly relationship with India. And maybe in future Tibet, maybe from Kanyakumari, from Kerala, you can go right up to the Himalayas, do a simple register at the border and come into Tibet, into the Holy Land, the land which is a vision for Indians, where today is the abode of Buddhism, which has left India and is in Tibet today. Right up to Mongolia, we can simply go as a tourist and also learn from there and also contribute in rebuilding Tibet.
Thank you, Tenzin.